Did you hear about our new sponsor, Learn It? One of the best ways to support your team is by investing in their growth through practical learning experiences. And that's exactly what Learn It delivers. Their short live workshops focus on the essential human skills we all need, like empowering others, managing change, and team collaboration. As a Speak with People listener, you get a free 45-day trial for up to 20 people. Start today by heading to learnit.com/speakwithpeople or click the link in the show notes and start your journey to investing in providing great growth for your team. Welcome to the Speak with People podcast, where we believe that healthy communication is the key to unlocking your leadership potential. We are the go-to resource for leaders looking to greatly improve their communication skills, whether it's one-on-one interactions, team settings, public speaking, or digital communication. By improving these skills, leaders can create stronger connections and drive positive change within their organizations. Each and every episode, we sit down with experts from various fields from around the world, just like you're grabbing a coffee with them, to dive into real practical conversations. Our goal is to help you transform your communication skills so you can lead more effectively, build stronger relationships, and make a lasting impact. So go grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's learn together. Well, how do you get more referrals without feeling pushy, awkward, too salesy? How do you grow your business by simply communicating the right way? Maybe you've struggled with prospecting, you felt uncomfortable asking for referrals. Well, get ready. This episode is for you. I'm so excited that you're joining us today. Every single week, we want to help leaders like you grow your business, improve your communication skills, expand your influence in your leadership. And I'm beyond thrilled to have a guest on today. This is actually the first time we've met face to face, but we've talked on the phone. I follow him on LinkedIn, and I've learned an absolute ton. I saw him comment one day on a friend of mine that they go way back. And I texted my friend and I said, "Hey, I think they're kind of doing the same thing. I need to talk to him." And so I asked if I could name drop. He said, yes. You responded right away. Dave Resseguie, thank you so much for being on the Speak with People podcast.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for the conversation.
Well, before we jump into the conversation, give us a little bit more of your story. Who you are, what you do, what's kind of got you to this place?
Yeah, so man, I'm a guy that studied to be a youth pastor at a Bible college, and I pursued a career in sales and sales training, motivational speaking, one-on-one business development coaching. So that's what the Resseguie Group does. We focus on those three things. We're now based in Greenville, South Carolina, but we spent about 15 years in Fort Lauderdale. So I'm married for the last 15 years to my wife, Jennifer, three small children under the age of 11. I've got my daughter, Charlie, my son, Chaz, my son, Cameron. We are in all the fullness of life, and it's been awesome. It's been an awesome journey.
Man, that's incredible. Being someone who also studied to be a youth pastor and ended up being a youth pastor for a long time, I'm thinking the path that we we took uh, um, maybe worked out financial. Hey, in the end, God always provides. But
Yep.
financially speaking, the day-to-day youth pastor role is not one that provides, you know, um, brag about salaries.
For sure. For sure.
Well, one of the things that really caught me when I went to your website, learning what you do, you call yourself a chief shepherd. And that
Yeah.
kind of took me back for a second. I'm like, wow, this is really powerful. Talk to us about that for a second. How do you step into that role with your clients?
Yeah, I love that question. So my friends in the faith community sometimes will give me issue with that because they're like, "Well, hey, isn't Jesus actually the chief shepherd?" And I say, "Hey, slow down, Tiger. Like, I'm not trying to take the role of Jesus, okay? Chief under shepherd might not make all that much sense in the business community." So yeah, I call myself the chief shepherd, one because it just causes people to ask the question, "Hey, what do you mean by that?" And at times that just allows me the privilege of having a conversation that's on a little bit deeper of a level, right? Maybe that's a spiritual level and a faith-centered level. Maybe it's just, "Hey, I'm curious, what does it mean?" I call myself that because when I think about my role in my clients' lives, think about what a shepherd does, right? A shepherd cares for their flock, and a shepherd keeps adversity away from the flock. And in a lot of ways, that's what I do for my clients, right? I'm there to listen to them and understand them and help them find their own path. Occasionally, I'm there to rescue them if they go astray, and I'm there to keep the negativity out and keep the wolves out. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's kind of the big picture.
Wow. Wow. I'm in the midst of finishing my first book, Speak with People, Not at Them. And we have a chapter on words. And, words are obviously a big thing, but the research about how many destructive words comes into a leader's head every day to the
Yeah.
amount of encouraging words. I mean, just what you said is so powerful. As you care for your clients, as you shepherd them and try to be that voice that, you know, is that encouraging voice is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about this morning as I was, getting excited for this conversation. A friend of mine's told me so often, he said, if you treat the majority of people like they're hurting, you're going to be treating a majority of people correctly. And
Mm.
another good friend has shared, like, you can't feel blessed and stressed at the same time. And I look around the world, I look around the people that I interact with on a very real, regular basis. So many people are going through challenges and they might be disheartened or they might be discouraged. And, when you can just speak encouragement into their life, whether that be through a handwritten note or a text message or a video message or a FaceTime, and you just tell them, hey, you're appreciated, you're loved, you're valued. And here's one thing that I admire and respect about you. You just leave people better. So,
Wow. Boy. We're not even, what are we, a couple minutes in? You're giving us a master
yeah,
class on client
yeah,
care and client communication. I love it. So
yeah,
powerful.
for
So,
sure.
so a long time now, 15 years, you have been doing this. How long, how old is the business? At what play, did you start the business and why did you start?
Yeah, so Jennifer and I've been married 15 years. I've been in the financial services industry. I would say that I'm niche in that industry for the last 18 years.
Okay.
Started in it right after graduating college. So a very long story short to bring it full circle. When I was a senior in college studying Bible and youth ministry, there was a big time preacher that preached at a chapel at my school. The guy's name is Chuck Swindoll. I'm sure you've heard of Chuck. And he essentially said if you could see yourself doing anything other than full time vocational ministry, don't go into ministry. So that was the impetus of me pursuing a career in business and finance. Interviewed at a financial services firm in downtown Chicago. Right out of college, took a position with that firm, and spent 10 years of my career as a full time employee of two different Fortune 500 financial services organizations. So Northwestern Mutual being one of them, Mass Mutual being another. They're two large financial planning companies that do insurance, investments, full blown planning. And I built a side hustle while I was an employee. That side hustle started in April 2011, where I just charged advisors a fee to coach them. And then I started traveling around the country speaking. A lot of that was inspirational speaking, but more sales training workshop driven. Like, I'm
Right.
really the presenter that's there to teach tactical strategy to influence relationships. And I'm in my 8th year full time running the Resseguie group. So the way that happened, my company in Miami that I was an employee of, they went through an acquisition. My full time job was eliminated in that merger. And at that point, I thought, you know what, let's go off and build this thing on our own. And it's really Jennifer, right? So my wife Jennifer, I call her our CEO. She's my chief encouragement officer,
Mm.
and she looked at me in that process and said, babe, you've always wanted to go run your own company again. God's got this. I believe he'll be faithful. He always has. I think you should do it. And that's what started the Resseguie group full time. That's actually when we incorporated. I was just, you know, I was sending my W-9s with my social security number on it up until that point. So,
Yep. Oh, that's amazing. I'm surprised you didn't use the word mutual in it, after the first couple companies,
yeah, yeah, there's certainly value there, but I work with stock companies as well. So I wanted to
right.
keep that a little bit unbiased.
Absolutely. No, I love it. How many, just because I know we have entrepreneurs listening, we have business owners. How many years were you guys in the, or were you ever in the, oh goodness, is this thing gonna, are we gonna, did we make the right, okay, we made the right call. This was great.
Hey, were you listening to the conversation that we had this morning about that? Um, No, you know what? Thank God, man. We're in a spot now where we feel like this is a sustainable business and we've
Mm,
got a critical mass of a client base and people that are supporters of ours. You know, the first 3 years of that, of being full time, felt a lot like a roller coaster. We had amazing weeks, we had terrible weeks, we had great finances, we had terrible finances. So I would say 3, 4 years of we got to put our head down and work really hard.
yep.
Um, yeah,
I love it. Okay. Well, that's encouragement for me. So thank you. I
yeah,
know that will be encouraging to some. But in the same
keep it going.
way as your wife, in the past life, my wife and I planted a church. Again, another, you're taking a big step off the, and so often I got the credit and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. She's the faith, she's the faith one. She's like, we could do this. I'm like, are you
Yeah,
sure? So that's great to hear about your context as well. That's just
yeah,
amazing.
absolutely. Yeah, awesome.
Okay, so we all in business have to continue building relationships so we can get more business. And sometimes people talk about this word prospecting, and they get negative. They're just,
Yeah.
I hate when this happens. You have some of the, in my opinion, the most encouraging, motivational posts when you talk about prospecting. You talk about building relationships. I remember one of your LinkedIn posts. I mean, you talked about some of the no's that you got that led to the, and like it just came at like the perfect time for me. I'm like, is Dave writing this for me? No, he's not writing it for me. I would
Fine.
love for you to speak to us a little bit about this. Why do we feel so uncomfortable sometimes when it comes to prospecting? How can we step into it so we are, we're not we're comfortable, we're leading with it, we're working it.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm gonna go into one small semantic, right? When you had said, we're often in a position where we have to build new relationships. That whole have to, let's change that to get to, right? We
Oof.
have the privilege that we get to build and identify and cultivate and deepen phenomenal relationships with people. That's a privilege, right? So whenever I'm talking with clients of mine or prospects of mine, I tell them my number one belief about prospecting is that prospecting is the most selfless thing that we can do, right? Prospecting is so other focused. It's
Mm.
always about other people, right? So certainly we benefit as an entrepreneur or as a business owner by prospecting. But having said that, like we're there to serve other people when and if they need and want us to serve them. But oftentimes, unless you're just cold calling, which I personally choose not to do, not because it's ineffective, but because I think it should just be a choice. And I would rather get favorably introduced to a prospective client than just
Oof.
reach out unsolicited, right? When we're introduced to people, there are so many people out there who need our value, but we may only have an opportunity to bring our value to them if we're introduced to them on a favorable basis by someone who already knows
Wow.
us and likes us and respects us. Yeah, those would be my initial thoughts on it.
Wow. Boy, I love that. I mean, you just think about the favorably introduced. So how can we then as leaders position ourselves to get to that place where uh, the people we work with are like, I have to tell, so and so about what you did with us. Like, how do we, for you, what are some of the things that go into that?
Yeah, so, number one, you have to add value to someone. And then the second thing is you simply need to ask them for the introductions. But before you ever ask somebody, like if I were to ask you, hey, Jason, who are people that you know and think highly of that you think I would enjoy meeting? Before I ever go there and actually ask you to proactively introduce me, I really am a big believer that people tend to believe what they hear themselves say out loud.
Ooh.
So I want to ask you, and I want to get you to affirm that I have actually added value to you personally. So I might say, yeah, hey, Jason, now that you've had a chance to learn a little bit more about the work that our firm does, I'm just curious. I mean, how have you felt about the conversations that we've had together? And you'll affirm, probably at a surface level, like, hey, Dave, these have been really good. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the synergy. And then I go a little bit deeper. Hey, Jason, in our conversations, we've talked about the connection that Ross made between the two of us. We talked about the background that we both had as people that studied youth ministry. We've also talked a lot about different ways that we can influence positive relationships within the speaking world and the workshop world. Out of everything that we've talked about in our conversations, what's been the one aspect of our conversations in particular that's really risen to the surface for you, that's added the greatest amount of value to you
Wow.
personally? And when you say one thing that specifically has brought value to you from our connection, I think you more deeply are believing other people could find value in the work that Dave does as well. So then I just need to have the courage to ask for the introductions.
Wow. Wow. Boy, that's so good. So with that, then, what is some of the mistakes that you've made, you see other people making when it comes to, asking for the introductions or, adding value, those kind of things?
I think one of the biggest mistakes that I don't see it, but I experience it. Here's what I mean by that. The reason I can't see it is I think it's in most people's mind, right? A
Mm,
lot of people, they have this head trash that they're not worthy of the introduction, or that people, they tell themselves like, these people aren't going to be comfortable giving me phone numbers or contact information for the people that I want to reach out to. And I think you've got to choose a more positive thought than that. When I ask for an introduction from somebody, after I've added value and after they have told me that I've brought value to them, I'm expecting that they're going to be open to giving me contact information for other people, because our entire relationship has been comfortable up to this point. So why in the world would it be any different with asking them for an introduction to somebody that they think highly of? So choose the positive thought in your mind as that propels you forward with a little bit more energy to ask for the introduction. That's one thing I see.
mm,
The second, and this is so silly, but it's on that theme of asking. So many people just choose not to ask for the introduction. And that's the first thing that's in your control as it relates to prospecting, right? You need to ask. So you have to have a personal commitment
yep.
to consistently have a comfortable conversation, right? Those four C's: a personal commitment to consistently have a comfortable conversation. If you have a commitment to consistently bring this up, and you can refine your craft to where this is a comfortable conversation, you're going to thrive in an environment where you're getting great introductions.
Wow. Wow. Those C's are great.
Yeah.
The comfortable conversation. Why is it sometimes in sales, boy, there are some people that just jump to the whole thing is uncomfortable. Maybe
Yeah.
they use too much jargon, they rush to sale too much, they come across cheesy. What advice do you have for them that, are struggling with I can't seem to find this comfortable world?
Yeah, it's got to become your own,
Mm,
right? You need to personalize your approach and ask for introductions or ask for business in a way that's congruent to you and your style and your personality. But oftentimes for so many people, like when you're new in your career and when you're in the first couple of weeks and months and years of your career opportunity, you haven't found your voice yet. You don't
mm,
really know what is your style. So my encouragement to that group of people is ask others what their approach is,
ooh,
and watch many people, right? Like there's wisdom in the multitude of counselors, right? Get advice from a lot of people on how they approach prospecting, and find one or two styles that resonate really well with you. People that you would say, wow, I like the way that they approach that. And if I could do it similarly to the way that they did it, I'll be better.
mm,
And then I really think there are three steps to you mastering communication, right? Number one, you do need to memorize language, right? You need to script out what you heard that person say. Now, hopefully, if they're developed enough in their skill set, they even have a script that they can provide to you. So you need to memorize a script. You got to do the work to get it in your head, right? Then you need to internalize it. You need to get
Mm.
it in your heart, right? That comes repetition's the parent of learning. You need to do this over and over and over again until it becomes second nature, right? Almost to the point, Jason, where if I asked you, hey, what do you say when you ask people for introductions? If I woke you up at 3 a.m. at your home and said, "What do you say when you're asking?" You need to know it like that. That's internalization, right? So
Yes.
you got to memorize it and get it in your head. You got to
Yep.
internalize it and get it in your heart. And then you need to personalize it, right? You make it your own. And that's where you feel comfortable in adapting in different situations because you're not thinking about what to say. You're just saying what's already inside of you.
So good. So good. Obviously, speak of people, my company, we deal a lot with a leader's communication skills. So much of our success is directly tied to how well we continue to improve our communication skills. So, for you as a leader, as you've grown your business, as you've trained, I mean, however many leaders you have, uh, can you see the difference in people or in your own life from those who go, yeah, my communication's fine, to those who go, okay, I got to continue looking for ways, like you just talked about, to personalize it, get better, understand it? Would love what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can see a difference between people who it's like they prove to you that they have worked on their craft and they've been diligent in giving
Mm,
time to mastery, right? There's also this interesting thing that I see with as people are working on getting better at their craft, it's almost like they were good when they were at their natural tendency of how they want to say something. And then as they do the work, they come down into this valley where it actually gets worse because you can sense that they're trying to be perfect along the way and
yes.
then perhaps they get better. My personal preference with that is I strongly dislike the people that go into that valley and they're working so hard on everything being perfect that they lose who they are in the
Yep.
message.
Yep.
Be you, be your authentic self, and then take constructive criticism and feedback to make you better.
Oh, I love that. Uh, I don't know who originally coined it, but people love to do business with people they know, like, and trust. So, for you, what are some of the key elements that help you build trust with your clients?
The phrase that's coming to my mind right now is just be a human who's valuable to other humans, right? I'll give
Mm,
you one real example. One of my very good friends, he's a client. More importantly than that, he's become a very dear friend. I was going to be in his part of the country speaking to his firm, and we were going to do an evening together, right? And he said, well, hey, what do you want to where do you want to go to eat? You want to get a great steak? Do you want seafood? And I said, well, hey, do the kids have a sporting event the night that I'm in town? And he's got a son and a daughter, and he said, yeah, they've got something going on that night. And I said, well, we're not going out to eat then. I want to be on the sidelines. Like, I'm not taking you away from your kids. I want to be there with you. So let's grab tacos and bring them to the field, and let's actually go cheer on your
love it.
kids, and I'll just be there with you, right? So part of that is like actually care about the things that are most important to other people and strive to not take people away from the things that they care the most about. And I don't know necessarily why my mind went to that as you asked that question, but I think just be a human that adds value to other human beings, and care about their inner tribe, and they're just going to love you for that.
Oh, it's amazing. And it leads into what I wanted to ask you next, because our brains are wired for story, and the fact that you remembered some stories from, your friend and client, it just builds deep trust. So how do we, as we're building trust with clients, as we're prospecting, how do we use storytelling in a way that can help, capture imaginations, to explain, what we do, all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, what I would tell you, I mean, if you're in sales or like all of us, if you're in any opportunity where you want to influence better communication, right? Think about object lessons that you have had in your life, or
Mm,
think about things that have happened to you personally in your past that illustrate a point or a concept that you would want to convey in any form of communication, and start building a library. Right, I use iCloud for all of my files, and in my iCloud I have a folder that just says stories, and in that folder, I have many folders of different things, events, occurrences that have happened to me over time, that over time I've developed them out and thought, what's really the one thing that I would want somebody to know or do or feel compelled to feel a certain way based off of what I learned from that story. And then you script it out, right? And you think about, how would I want to share this with this group? And yeah, just develop your own personal stories. Those are the ones that are going to come out of you
mm.
with the greatest level of conviction.
So instead of like in 1947, we go into
Yeah.
like this, some story. Absolutely. Share those personal stories. Uh,
Thousand. Yeah.
oh yeah, that is that's powerful to even to think through the building a library part. I mean, it's just going to serve you so well if you have that and you're ready to go
Yeah.
and be able to do that. Okay,
Yeah.
so we talk sometimes on the podcast about our successes. People really lean in to vulnerability and to failure. Is there a
Yeah.
client story that you would share with us that just go that still to this day you're like, oh, I can't believe I let them get away, or tried.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to work out, but then it fell through. You know, we'd
Yeah,
love.
I hate that you're bringing me here. I didn't know you were going to do this, but this
I'm
is
sorry.
good because it does connect with people. So I can remember a number of years ago, I had a client relationship with a large organization, and it was to the tune of $180,000 a year of revenue, just the one client. So we're
Okay.
talking like that's a
Yeah.
pretty good client, but that's not
Yeah.
every client that I have. And the they didn't renew, but here's why they didn't renew. The company, what they loved what I did, they loved me, they had trackable results that they could prove that what we were doing together worked. But the reason they didn't renew is because the key individual that I had a relationship with left the company to go to another company. And the new individual, there just wasn't a relationship there.
Yep.
And so no fault of anyone's. It's just it happens. And
Yep.
I'm sure that will happen again. But what I learned most from it is go many layers deep within the relationship that you have with a client, because oftentimes the decision maker is not just the one person that you
Mm.
have a great relationship with. It's the multiple people who make the opportunity actually happen, or it's perhaps even the next generation person who's going to take over that program. So I wish I had that client back. They were a great client. I would definitely work more with them in the future, but I think I learned far more than 180,000 that was lost from that opportunity by losing the opportunity. And that's hard to say.
Oof.
Cause I, man, I'll tell you, I know what I would do with the 180 extra right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you learn from those opportunities, right? You don't win or lose, you win or you learn.
Oh, wow. So speak to us a second about rejection, because as you're getting introduced, as you're having comfortable conversations, inevitably, you're going to hear, this just doesn't work for us at this time. Or, I'm not really in a position. Uh, how have you
Yeah.
processed rejection? What do you even see rejection as?
Yeah, well, so go back to what I shared, my number one belief about prospecting, right? And prospecting, I generally define as getting introductions. But in this case, it could also be asking for the business, right? You're prospecting for business. If my number one belief truly is that prospecting is the most selfless thing that we can do, the most other focused thing that we can do, getting the business, asking for the business is not about me. It's about them. So I want to serve them when and if they need me. So if the answer is, Dave, let's work together and we're fired up, great. I'm all in on that. If the answer is, hey Dave, we would love to work with you at some point, now's just not the right time. So let's stay in touch. Fantastic, because this is about you and I'm here for you when you need me. And if the answer is, hey, Dave, like we're actually not going to work together and there's no need for you to follow up ever again about this, and you don't even need to keep us on your drip campaign. Hey, fantastic, right? Any one of those three outcomes should be completely fine with us, right? So I encourage others, and I speak this to myself as well. You've got to put yourself in a position where you're completely detached from the outcome.
Oof.
Regardless of the result, it's okay with me. I'm not in control of the end outcome. I am in control of the actions that I take that can put me in a position to serve other people more regularly. So the biggest challenge I see though is so many people that are in a role where they need people to say yes for them to create their livelihood. They don't have enough activity
Mm.
to stomach the no's or the not nows, right? If your list of people that you're asking to do business with is 3 people, and one of those people says, "Nah, we're not going to do it," that's going to hurt. But if your list is 180 people and you get 10 of those people to say we're not going to do it, man, I would have loved to serve you and I'm here for you if you need me, but that's all right because
Yeah.
I've got other people that I'm going to be able to serve.
Yeah. That's so good. Do you have any, if you could dip underneath the hood here for a second, do you have any systems or uh, things that your business does that are kind of unique to you guys? Do you send a gift, after a client books a training? I'm just, I guess I'm fishing for anything that you've learned that helps, stand out, build that relationship, continues to trust, those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, I'm pretty boring, right? Because I just haven't wanted to reinvent the wheel, and I want to obsess about the basic habits and discipline. So I do a lot of the same things that just fundamentally strong businesses do really well. If there were one thing, and I believe there is, if there were one thing that I would say I choose to do that many people don't, is I really love sending people video messages. It could be via text, it could be through LinkedIn, it could be through an email. And practically, so the day before Thanksgiving is every year, it's my favorite day of the year because I take some time away on my own to think about people in my life that I'm deeply filled with intentional gratitude for.
Mm.
It's not only clients, right? That could be Jennifer always gets my first video. Jennifer's my wife.
Yep.
Charlie, Chaz, and Cameron get my second video because I mean those four are the most important people in my world, right? And my parents and my sisters and extended family, right? But often it is clients, and I film a 45-second video or a minute long video, but it's not one video to a lot of people. It's one video to one person. It's,
Mm.
Hey, Jason. Hey, man, I was thinking about you today and I wanted you to know, man, I am so grateful for you, for Ross connecting the two of us, for your heart, for asking people phenomenal questions. I'm so grateful for the privilege of coming on your podcast earlier this year. And man, I just love the impact that you're creating in the world. And I know it's challenging, but keep it going because you're going to make a massive impact in the lives of the people that you have the privilege of serving. I'm so fired up the next time I'm down in Tampa for us to grab dinner together or lunch together, or the entire family can join. But man, I just want you to know I appreciate you. Right? People don't hear those things often. And I think that does separate you, right? When you show up a little bit differently in somebody's life, instead of just sending that as an email message or as a written text message, which that's great. But when you send a video and they can feel your presence and your energy as if you're across the table with them right now. A second thing I would say, and I spent a lot of time this morning doing this, writing people handwritten
Oh
notes,
yeah.
right? I wouldn't say it's a lost art because many people do it, but I would tell you it's a very underutilized art in the world that we're in right now. And when you send people handwritten notes, like I don't know many people that get a handwritten note and they're pissed off that you sent them a handwritten note. I mean, unless you're telling them something about them that they don't want to
Right.
know, but they're usually grateful and appreciative and it keeps
Absolutely.
you top of mind. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. We haven't known each other very long, but you sent me a video message just after a couple of times we had talked, and we weren't going to be able to talk, but you wanted to, communicate. Hey, not going to be able to talk, but it was just meant the world. And I might go back. I'm under the premise that most leaders' encouragement tanks are running on empty. There's the research there that we get this many discouraging comments to encouraging comments. And so a lot of times we're like, they know how I feel. No, they really don't. And so if you come across cheesy and salesy, yeah, it's not going to mean anything. But what you just described, I'm going to go back and cut that portion that you did just specifically for me. So, the next time I'm like, okay, that fell through. I'm going to go, listen to that
Yeah.
message because I'm like, whoo. And that for me is as I followed you, as I've gotten to know you, and just watching your authenticity, that's shepherding. I mean, that is caring
Mm.
for people, speaking into people, and I'm just blown away by what you do and how you do it at a high level. And so last question I'll ask you, we use this phrase at Speak with People a lot: speak with your client, not at them. As you listen to that, as you process it, is there anything that immediately comes to mind that you're like, okay, that's what this means to me?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer that directly in like 10 seconds, but I just have to acknowledge this. You just did for me exactly what you said I did for you, right? When you telling me that, man, that's shepherding people. You know how encouraging that is for me and how much more filled my like love tank is because of
Yep.
that, right? And
Yeah.
iron sharpens iron, right? So
Yeah. It's
love that.
good.
So, speaking with people as opposed to speaking at people, the first thing that comes to my mind there is the word reframing, right?
Mhm.
Like there's this saying that people don't care what you know until they know that you care, right? Well, a lot of times people might see you listening to them and they know you hear them, but they want to know, like, do you understand me right now? Like, do you really grasp everything that I
Mm.
mean? So when you look people in the eyes after you've taken in whatever information they're giving you, and you just say, "Hey, Jason, it's just, man, it's super important to me that I'm doing an exceptional job of listening to you and just really understanding what you're sharing with me. Hey, would you mind if I just recap what I feel like I hear you sharing?" And then you tell them what you perceive that they're the messages that they're trying to get across to you. And if you're right, they're going to say, man, yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. And if you're wrong, they're going to say, hey, man, you missed it, so here's
Mm.
what I meant. And they're going to know, like, all right, he's with me. We're not just in the same library or in just the same book, like we're on the same line of the same page.
Whew. That's powerful. That's powerful. Well, as our listeners know, we're building this online communicators library where it's a spreadsheet filled with tons of different ideas, resources that hopefully, sparks our transformation in our listeners. So they want to learn something new. So speakwithpeople.com/skills library. So Dave, we ask all of our guests same three questions, rapid fire, and we fill all the information with that. And so, is there a speaker? Is there somebody for you that every time you hear them speak, fill your cup, can't wait to tell somebody about what you heard? Is there somebody that falls into that category for you?
John Gordon. John Gordon's the author of The Energy Bus and so many other bestsellers. Every time I listen to John, I leave inspired and wanting to be a better husband, a better man, a better business owner, entrepreneur. He's unbelievable.
I love it. If you're a podcast listener, not everybody is, but if you do, is there a guilty pleasure or a development one that you just keep coming back to? Love to refer to other people.
So I'm not a massive podcast listener. I prefer to have one-on-one mentor meetings with people every quarter. But the Live Inspired podcast by
Mm.
John O'Leary. John O'Leary was a burn victim. He lives in St. Louis. He's a Christian guy, but not all of his guests are. That's not the purpose of the podcast. But he interviews some unbelievable people. Also, the Ed Milet
Oh yeah.
podcast is just unbelievable, right? Listen to the 2 episodes that Ed recorded with Damon West. Those are
Mm.
those are must listen episodes. Damon West interviews with Ed Milet.
I love that. And then lastly, you run into someone, they're headed to a desert island. They can only take one book. What's the one book you send them with?
Oh man, so the Bible for sure, but that's kind of the cliche answer. Giftology
Oh
by
yeah.
John Rulin. John is I would say he is a friend. John passed a number of months ago, but the practical guidance and encouragement that John gives in that book to show people love and appreciation for no reason other than wanting to show them love and appreciation. It has the power to change your life when you read that book.
I love it. Well, thank you. Dave, this has been unbelievable, transformational. Appreciate you just opening up your wisdom, just sharing so freely, so generously. Where's the best place we can send our listeners to find more about you, to connect, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, my home address is no, I'm not. If LinkedIn is going to be the number one place.
Yep.
So if they just search Dave Resseguie on LinkedIn, I respond to all messages directly and personally. And it's got access to my cell, my website, everything on LinkedIn.
Perfect. And we'll link that and we'll put that in the speakers group. If you're in the speakers group, listeners, if you have not joined yet, go to Facebook, join the speakers group. It's a community where we're just learning as leaders how to improve all of our communication skills because it's so important. Dave, again, thank you for this amazing conversation. Really appreciate it. Can't wait to talk next time.
Thanks for having me, brother. Great being with you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Speak with People podcast. It means the world to us when you share this episode. Thanks for liking, subscribing, or following the podcast. That really does help the podcast get into more ears and into more leaders listening. Also, don't forget, we have 2 exciting resources for you. The first is go to Facebook and join the speakers group. This is a community designed for leaders who want to grow their communication skills. Also, go to speakwithpeople.com/skills library to access the communication skills library. It is an online resource chock filled with resources that will inspire you and transform you and grow your communication skills. Thanks again for being a part of the listening community. We cannot wait for the next episode.